When will this Orwellian nightmare come to an end? There's too many topics on this show restricted by Newspeak. Brento here. Welcome back to Dump City. As you notice from the title of this episode, we're in a certain year. I'll let you guess what year it is in the game without, showing it on screen here. We've got our secret police building built here. I've actually played quite a bit since the last episode, but time-wise, I'm only in the middle of winter here. Couldn't get that far, but I've actually played as much as I would between a normal weeks of episodes. Yeah, this is the secret police building. This was built since the last episode. They're going to start monitoring what my people do. I've had criteria for jobs of loyalty set up at a lot of the factories and various institutional buildings. But without the secret police verifying the loyalty, I don't think they were really working as intended. But now they should be, right? Because we know their loyalty with these police. I had some strange issues in the world too emerge once this building became active. And it is very active. In terms of people who play this game, I built this much later than normal. I didn't think it was a big deal, but perhaps it is a big deal. Maybe it'll make things better. Maybe it'll make things worse. But we'll dig into what's going on there shortly after I tell you what's in the show. This way, at the very least, you'll watch a few minutes of it and not go, this is way too long. Who's going to watch a show this long, right? So before you leave, here's what you might miss if you don't listen into the rest of the show. So in today's show, I'm going to talk about a pro tip on how to spread communism faster. Okay, so that'll be covered. That'll be a fairly early topic in the show. We're going to go over the secret police, some of the mechanics of it, maybe real life secret police. Who doesn't like a conspiracy? I have an invention idea every now and then. That's one of my unique traits as a YouTube streamer, is I'm one of the few inventors on YouTube. And I have another idea, which I think, well, it might be out there. The thing is, when I pitch an idea on this show, it's not an invention. So legally speaking, I call it an invention idea, not an invention, because an invention, there's characteristics to invention. It cannot exist as one of the characteristics. And despite most people's attempts, and including my own, most guesses on what a good invention is doesn't make it an invention. It's just a good idea until you confirm it doesn't exist. So maybe this does, I don't know. I think maybe it does exist. Probably does exist. Talk about Ronald Reagan, right? A popular president in 1984. I want to make a request for an alt history video with various Soviet Union countries put together. Okay, this is an alt history request. We'll see how that works later. I have a movie review. I'm actually going to talk about a movie that I saw many years ago, somewhat related to this episode. And this is a thinking episode. This isn't me sniffing glue, okay? This isn't me picking my nose episode. This is a thinking episode. Use your brain in this one. What's Newspeak? Okay? What is Newspeak? I haven't watched the movie 1984. Actually, I don't even know if I ever did watch it. Even by my standards, it came out in 1984, right? So even by my standards, it's a pretty old movie. I can't say offhand I know every detail of it. I can't even remember. I just remember it was a dystopian view of the future. And some of the things that were talked about in this movie, they're so real today. It's gotten worse. I think a part of why things in society have gotten worse is because a lot of it's filtered and you can't learn things. So I mentioned the term newspeak. So I just learned about this yesterday when I was doing some research. Because if I'm going to look, it's December 25th, 1984 in the game, okay? There's only 1 year I can do this topic, right? And in fact, this wasn't the original script. I've actually had 2 script changes. This is the 3rd one from what I was originally conceiving. I'll get into that afterwards. So eventually I said, okay, let's do 1984. It is 1984. I watched a summary YouTube video on 1984. And one of the things they talked about in the movie, I shouldn't say the movie, it's a book primarily, was the idea of newspeak. And part of what makes the future dystopian is when the language itself starts changing the words. So Newspeak was this concept that there was basically, from what I could see, there was three categories of words permitted in the new language. This is Newspeak, okay? So if it's, the late 2020s, maybe 2030s, you're watching this, and you notice, and you're an older person, or you're at least you've been around for enough time to see the culture shift a little bit in your lifetime, you'll notice Newspeak emerges. And part of the theory behind it is that the rich and powerful people will sculpt the language for their needs. So part of the dystopian nightmare is that most people live a worker drone life and they have to follow rules, and sometimes they don't have any idea why they're doing what they're doing. They just have to do it or they starve, right? Now, where does the money that you create go to? It could go to fund wars. It could go to just stupid stuff like that, or it could just fund yachts or just generally useless things to you. Side note, George Orwell was a social democrat, meaning he leaned towards socialism. He was somewhat anti-capitalist. He's just anti-authoritarian, namely. So, like, he hated Stalin, too. He viewed Stalin as far right, not far left. The Newspeak language itself, though, had basically three categories of words developed for the future. One of them was the blunt terms, like work, eat, sleep, right? These would be the things allowed in your language. You could work, but things of leisure, things of questioning authority, removed from the language. And the idea is that because people think in language to a certain degree, if you remove certain words from the language, you can't understand your trap. Okay? This is a thinking episode. This is where you start thinking. You can't understand your trap because it's been removed from your vocabulary of understanding. Okay? The other category of vocabulary in Newspeak was compound words, where it was a noun and a verb, like good think or crime think. And it was a way to associate actions with physical things and control you, so that, it'd be like a pejorative if you were to crime think, right? There are other types of, disloyalty and various other questioning types of thoughts that are just omitted from this category as well. And a final category of language in Newspeak, and you might like this one the most, this is actually my favorite term of Newspeak, is the science words, where basically, because everyone was given a job and you become an expert at what you do, you get so familiar with the terminology in your field that you don't realize that no one understands what you're saying. Words like phospholipid and electroencephalography, right? These were just words, part of an industry. I don't know if those are real words. I just wrote them down from the example to explain what Newspeak was. And it basically ensures that everyone has a piece of the puzzle of the scam of the rich and powerful that control you. But because in this case, like, you could be a genetic engineer, you could figure out how to make people live 150 years old, and you'll use scientific terms, but you'll only be able to communicate with the rich and powerful through your channels. And all the other bits of language, the scientific terms you need to be able to convey this knowledge to your peers, are missing. Authoritarianism is about you working for someone above you. You don't work for the person beside you. We're playing a video game, obviously. I like to rant on. Sometimes I'll rant on a lot. And because the game's paused in 1984 and it's Christmas and almost done, I gotta draw it out a little bit longer before I hit play again. But the purpose of this is to also spread ideas. I want to share the idea of Newspeak. When I learn something that I think's interesting, I pass it on to my audience and, watch the movie or read the book and gain an appreciation for what Orwell had to say on the topic. What's happening in the world? This original script was called Phoenix, okay? And it was going to be a bit of a joke how, like, there was a coal mine here, and I wanted to build coal processing plant and heating plants and provide heat for our Soviet Los Angeles. But a few things happened. I thought that was funny too, because what does Phoenix make? They make heat, right? Because they're a notoriously hot city. So it seems like exporting heat would be a bit of, here's the Phoenix heating plant. Let's make heat. But then I realized, hey, I got a new technology, or I can scan the map for coal. And yeah, I saw this coal here, but then I'm like, oh, wow, there's some coal like right in our city here. But this is actually not in a good spot. It's mostly like it's half in the water, and it defies the purpose of building way out of town in the first place. Like it has to be outside of the city. We don't want the pollution. The last episode we started to take serious the elimination of pollution from the city because it's hurting productivity. It's just not good. It's a bad business idea. Unless you're a psychopath, which some of the super rich are, who just don't care. They'll build a factory and they'll pollute everyone in their community and think that they're an important member. Like they just don't get it. They don't understand the privilege they have. And every city's like that. There's some buffoon that has a factory that doesn't see that they're the problem. As you can see here, there's another red dot over here. Okay. So I was looking around, and in fact, this red dot here is one of the best coal deposits I could find on the whole map, or at least in this whole quadrant of the map. So I'm like, okay, this has twice as much coal as Phoenix, and it's near Las Vegas, which is also a hot city. So Vegas can make heat too. Okay. So actually, that's a counterpoint. Okay. So now we got two heat producing cities. It's about the same distance, but there's actually three benefits to this location in Vegas that make it better than Phoenix. First off, better coal. Second off, to access this coal, we have to go over a bridge. It's on this, it's on this side of the lake. So I'm like, well, I got to build an expensive bridge to get there. And the third advantage to Vegas here is that if we provide a heat, like a big heating system, and we expand into San Francisco, it's going to be a lot easier for Las Vegas to channel heat pipes this way than it would have been from Phoenix. You'll also notice I renamed Inland Empire, got moved over here, and Palm Springs moved here. I was looking at a map and I'm like, you know what, this is backwards, right? So Palm Springs appears to be on the way to Phoenix. Inland Empire is on the way to Vegas. So Phoenix is not going to get developed this season, unfortunately. Vegas, we will do this season, or at least I will begin construction of it. It will be kind of our big project for the rest of the season, in fact. And there's some other exciting things I want to do here. Well, a few weeks ago, I noticed someone posted on the Reddit this idea of, can you just, and this is, sorry if you don't play the game here, this is more of a, this is for the workers and resources crowd here. But when you play this simulation, you move communism into a city. For some reason, the moment you break ground on your first building, everyone wants everything because they're not, it's an equal status society now. So everyone, people who are used to not getting things now want things under socialism. I want a car, I want food, I want a heated home, stuff like that. I want plumbing, I want sewage, right? Suddenly the demands go up, right? Electronics, better food, better clothing. They're like, can I build in one of these spawn cities and not have everyone leave? And I was thinking, you know what? That's a bit of a challenge. When I started this series with Los Angeles here, I didn't understand the mechanic of the breaking ground made everyone flee. So yeah, there's about the first 10, 15 episodes were me dealing with that. It was just a constant challenge to get this kick-started, basically. Eventually, I just had to drag them out of all these other cities. Most of the other cities in the map are empty. Like Phoenix has almost no citizens in it, right? All the houses are empty because they were dragged into Los Angeles. So that's how I worked around the fact that people leave. But in hindsight, if I had a strategy to build super fast, like a very rapid invasion, like you'll notice I have some buildings set up in a staging area here. Now this is the challenge. Can I build into Las Vegas rapidly enough the essential services they need that they don't leave? Buildings get built so fast that they want to leave, but they're like, oh, okay, there's the daycare I wanted. There's the free daycare. It's there now. Okay, I guess I can't leave now. Can we keep them? And that's topic one of the show, actually, a pro tip on how to spread communism faster. What I'm going to try here, and you could do this in a new Spawn game too, I suppose, is build a staging area. So if you want to hijack a city, I'm going to try this. I don't really know if this works, but I think you couldn't do better than this. This is probably the easiest way to do this because I already have an established city. So I have, enough other vehicles and factories that produce goods. I have enough population, frankly, to be able to spare workers to build an entire city and not have to worry too much about it. So it's a little bit more challenging if you're doing this right from a new map where there's no communism yet on the map. But if you want to challenge, spawn cities on your map, then create a staging area, have some aggregate storage, have some open storage, and eventually I'll place a warehouse. I'm probably going to put a little bit more in the city because I have other reasons for the warehouse here too, but I might put a warehouse too. In your case, you'll need a warehouse. So what you do is you'd set up your construction offices, you'd build these big storage facilities, and then you would just set up routes to fill them up. You could do it with a distribution office, or you could just initially just set up routes. After you've got these built and fully stocked up, set up some technical offices, then put some water trucks in, put some sewage trucks in, have some waste trucks, snow plows, put it here first, then hit pause, then lay out everything you want, right? Make sure you always stay paused here. Do this probably in May 1st would be a good day. Right at the end of winter where you don't really need heat. The advantage of these houses is they produce their own heat. So even though they produce pollution, they can never really be happy because of the pollution they provide, but they will stay in these houses. So when you jump in with communism here, you don't have to build any houses. Use these houses. You don't need a heat plant either, which is kind of cool. Lay out your restaurants, lay out your pubs, your gyms. There's 5 or 6 key buildings. Just place them out and then set up some construction offices here where they grab the materials from your staging area and they just build the city. You wouldn't have to do the staging if you're right at the border, but another advantage to having it stocked up is there's no lineups at the border. So you can have more trucks pulling goods if you have enough loading docks. And usually these come with at least 2 each. If you have 3 different types of warehouses, each with 2 loading docks, you got 6 places for trucks to grab things. You might even want to build a double-lane highway where one of them's doing gravel and you're using the dirt roads at the same time so that the later stages of it are being built faster and faster. And see if you can build basically in one summer. And also keep in mind too, the workers here, they'll work on the construction. So you're like, where am I going to get enough workers? As long as they haven't vacated the city, they'll build it. It's the only dilemma is getting the equipment in and the goods in as fast as possible. So this is kind of like your pro tip on how to spread communism faster. Stage stuff first, prepare in advance. I would probably recommend putting some of the free technical offices right in the city. Water trucks, waste trucks. Start with the basics. Because it's a race, don't go at the big shopping center. Build it fast is the main thing. And then you could build like a swimming pool or something later. Same with the theater, right? You don't have to go with this. This is an expensive culture building. A small clinic, right? It's about speed. You want to get all the minimum basic services in fast as you can. Don't have sewer and water lines yet. And because they provide their own heat, you don't have to worry about the heat just yet. However, in this case, we happen to have a big coal deposit right here. So we'll probably give them heat and get rid of their, well, at least offset their pollution a little bit by doing that. Because really the purpose of this city is to provide workers for our main city here. Let's just be honest here. That's why we're doing it. But it's also an experiment. I'm actually going to try to make this a tourist town because it's Las Vegas. So when I build the restaurant, I'm going to build a tourist restaurant. I don't think I'll go with all the 5-star ones here, but maybe lower tier Vegas casino equivalents, right? Vegas isn't all 5 stars. I don't know for sure if this works. Watch further in the series. You'll probably know by the end of season 1, start of season 2, whether this works or not. And if it doesn't work here, I'd suggest in a basic game, it might not work at all. If I can't do this here, I don't think you'll be able to do it in 1960. But if I can do it here, that means you might be able to do it in 1960. It's 1984 in the world here, so I do have access to much better vehicles. I do have the ability to transport people here. So if I can't do it in this setup here, I would say that jumping in and preserving the communism in a city is too challenging to do. That's the pro tip on how to spread communism faster. Let's just look around the world a little bit here. So this is winter. I'm leaving it paused for a while. Like, this is only going to be 1984 for a little bit, because I told you the history, how the script for the show changed. A part of it too is I didn't really have time to play. So we'll play into 1985 a little bit here. Fun fact, did you know that 1985 was an unknown sequel to 1984? It didn't do so well. And then there was 1986, and that was a bit of a flop as well. We do have a challenge for the episode. Like, this isn't all hunky-dory, okay? So our heat facility here, if you know the game, you know we have a problem here. This produces heat, and it's December 25th, and we have no mixed waste to burn, okay? So that's a big problem. There's going to be lack of heat in one area. We have a new heat plant. We just built this last episode. Then, to be honest, I disconnected one of the heat lines from here. See here? It's a dead end right there. It got blown up, and then I reconnected it to this one here. Each one of these heat plants essentially has 2 heat lines into the city. Okay, so even though this is run out of mixed waste to heat, it's only doing 66% of the top load that it did before. So it's not like this is definitely going to kill people. Some people will probably die, but I don't think this is going to be a disaster. But you got to watch the whole episode, right? Once I hit play, we'll play it well into January. So this is kind of the dilemma of the episode. Is this going to keep enough people warm in order to survive until next summer? Another thing I'm starting to work on here is I've started building a tunnel. So the build objective of this episode is to finish this tunnel, maybe get this bus stop built, okay? That's probably one of the easiest build challenges I've ever done, is to build a bus stop. But I have to build this tunnel first to get there. Between episodes, I'm going to at least make this gravel, possibly asphalt, so that we can then more rapidly build these storage facilities and start stockpiling things. And maybe in a few episodes, we'll do our Vegas challenge. And again, this all stems from the fact that we want to get rid of pollution in Los Angeles, because we want to build a series of heat plants here and take advantage of the coal deposit. We want to get a heat generation far, far out of the city, so we don't have to build too many of these garbage incinerators, because these are not good. This one here, part of the reason I reduced the lines is because this is like, if you're playing the game and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing a show on how to play realistic mode Soviet Republic, and you built a garbage incinerator 400 meters from an apartment building. I didn't know that. I just didn't know it was that big a deal when I started. If you're going to simulate communism, you got to just take a regular idiot to do it. I was a regular idiot. I didn't realize that's way too close. So I am slowly decommissioning this one. I've already blown one pipe up, but it's realistic mode. I have to live with my mistakes, just like Western societies live with their mistakes and the choice to be capitalist nations. Part of this series is to explain all the capitalist scams out there, all the falsehoods, all the propaganda you've been fed. Like, one of my favorite things when people talk about propaganda is they say things like, China hides stuff. They don't tell you the full truth of what's happening in China. I'm like, duh, really? And how's that different from any other country in Western society? Like, who are your elected officials? Isn't every single one of them handpicked by a major corporation or super wealthy family? That seems strange that only the super wealthy get to pick your candidates to vote on. How come that's not talked about? Well, it's almost like they censor stuff in the Western media too, which is controlled by these super rich people. So, yeah, of course, all nations do this. And the type of censoring that goes on in China, I'm aware of it. If you're telling a story and you want to keep the story to a certain plot, whether it's capitalist or socialist, you want to keep the story going, right? And you want it consistent. So sometimes you censor parts. That's why I edit these videos sometimes. Sometimes it's just an inconsistent, or I'll talk about something that's a dead end topic. Or I'll be like, I'm going to build in Phoenix, right? Maybe I did. Maybe in prior episodes, I actually talked about that for 20 minutes, the specific plans. But because it never came to fruition, I cut it out. I censor myself, right? So these people who say, well, China censors a lot of stuff, get real, okay? Go walk around the slums of your city in a Western nation and tell me that the system worked out well for everyone. You go film that. And you know what? Put it up on social media and keep doing that. And I assure you, someone from your city will ask you to take it down. The world's gotten big. It takes a while to cover everything. Dump City itself, the experiments are on pause. I like to go over the finances too, like we'll do this at the same time. Our borrowing power in rubles, about the same as last episode. Went major down a few episodes when we bought all our rolling stock. But our US dollar borrowing power, $750,000, I got 300,000 in the bank, basically $1 million. So the goal of end of season at 20,000 population and $2 million in US dollars purchasing power it's getting closer. We've improved our economy quite a bit here. And that's just, the trains move stuff better and our population's big. That's why, we now have surplus workers that can create wealth to sell to the Western nations. But just because there's so many other things going on, we're going to pause our human experiments a little bit here. We've got to deal with the pollution problem, right? It's fun to fiddle around here, but meanwhile, everyone's going to be choking on the smog in Los Angeles. What kind of a city would just let people suffer in the smog, right? What kind of a mayor would just go, it's just the way it is, right? I assure you, every mayor of Los Angeles has been endorsed by someone who has a smokestack. They own a smokestack somewhere that's endorsed every mayor of Los Angeles, I assure you. So, we'll be doing plenty of pollution experiments in Dump City later, and water experiments, and other sociological experiments. Houston's not changed much here. I've added a couple more farms to our setup. Oh, there is a big change here. In China, though. Oh, I mispronounced it. China. In short, we got a bunch of farms. They bring it into the grain storage, which burnt down a couple of episodes ago. We rebuilt it. We just had our first crop harvest since. And workers come in from China and from Russia, and from San Francisco a little bit now. We gather whatever hobos we can find along abandoned San Francisco, and they work in the cattle yards here, the livestock farms, and they make cattle, and we sell cattle. These trucks, basically, they pull all the crops in, but when they're not doing that in the off season, they're picking up the cattle and delivering it and selling it for rubles. That's why we got such high buying power in rubles. And they also deliver things like chemicals to Los Angeles. And I think there's a few other things. Yeah, these ones bring chemicals. We actually have 5 big covered hulls here that service the Houston area. And we have a few more here as well that help with some of these farms. And they bring other things like electronics and more chemicals and electrical components or electronic components into Los Angeles as well. So these are always busy, these trucks. They're just constantly either moving crops and cattle or they're bringing stuff into the city. Although technically we do have a rail network that can start doing that, but it's not doubled up yet. We just, last episode, we built one of the branches of our rail line here. But the other one's still probably a few episodes away, probably 1987-ish, maybe 86. Yeah, probably 86 somewhere. We'll have a doubled up line. Then we can start doing regular services. Like we have a distribution office queued for building, but there's only a few areas where we can have doubled up trains regularly. We might have some problems in this episode too. Trains that build the track are on the track. We are using our track a bit, so they kind of bump into each other while under construction. There's only a few areas I'm a little bit concerned about that. Oh yeah, and there's one other thing I discovered too between episodes. This is kind of a big deal. So now that I can scan for oil, and in hindsight, if you're playing this on realistic mode, maybe get this map scanning a little bit quicker. Because even though I just took a thing, like took a pump jack and scanned over area methodically, I made mistakes. And being able to see where the oil and the coal is, I think is a big deal. So those two especially, right? Basically, I discovered there was a huge oil deposit right here. I don't have the pipeline technology to sell to the border, but when I discovered this, I'm like, oh man, this is actually so close to the border, it justifies a pipeline connection here. So, and I wasn't researching at all. I had no idea this oil was here the whole time. This is such a waste. Like, we'd be so much richer if I just was aware that it was there the whole time. So China's going to have oil here, right? Maybe this should be Greenland, right? Is China going to buy Greenland? They could. That's the big joke, right? This is why you have to take the threat of capitalism and the threat of the rich and the problems they cause. Like when you kick the can down the road, you bail out the rich over and over. That's a mistake because, you know, if you have to be bailed out, that just means you're stupid and you shouldn't be anywhere near the levers of power. But if you just bail them out and let the same people continue to make the mistakes, then your nation eventually gets so inept and inefficient. Other nations that don't do this, like China, that better socialize the profits, and they just frankly, because there's more participation in the market, then you got better overall ideas. So the threat, obviously, well, I guess from the US's perspective, but most people, like, what do I care? I'm too low income to be affected by this. This only affects the rich, what I'm saying here. What China could do is, because they produce more money than the US, at least they produce more tangible goods. The US prints more money and claims they have a higher GDP because of the printing of their own money. Because, you might make 3 times the US dollar salary in the US, but you have 10 times the expenses. And Americans think they're richer. Thinking episode. This is a thinking episode. That doesn't make sense. So in reality, China actually has more purchasing power than the US, and it could purchase Greenland. Like, that's the big joke, that the US wants to buy Greenland. What if China said, hey, we'll give you twice as much money for it? What's the US going to do about it, right? Nothing. That's what they're going to do, because they don't have the money. It's as simple as that. So because we're going to develop this area here, I built a little fire station here, because we got to protect that, right? A little bit of a road. I'm going to leave these mud roads here with a little bit of gravel to access it. So this is all new between episodes. And we're going to have a bus stop here. So right now we got a car that's going into China Maglev that's building all these rails. But I'm going to just have the car go to this bus stop so that they get a little bit more productive out of it, because it's like a little shorter distance to the bus stop, and then they can get in China Maglev and they can work at the fire station. We had some fires between episodes, but managed to put them out barely. But it did scare me enough that I wanted to build this here to just have a bit more fire coverage in the area. So anyways, I guess without much further ado, I guess we could hit play here. It's been in 1984 as long as I can in this episode. Like, I can't just hit play and 10 minutes into the show, it's 1985. You'd be like, why? You can't call it 1984, it's 1985. It's been 1984 for most of the episode because I haven't hit play yet. One other thing too, I mentioned that pipeline thing. I researched pipeline pressure as fast as I could, and then I accelerated the research on something else we were doing here. It was like Western passports. I didn't think there was anything useful. Then I'm like, oh my God, I got to get that done. And now I'm denying 10 people an education just so we can get that pipeline technology. It's worth it. That's the decision I've had to make here. But yeah, let's go. Let's watch the people freeze. Here we go. I'm not actually super worried about this heating problem here, because I do have a lot of garbage getting processed very quickly here. And I think we should be okay if that continues, because we have 50 workers and a lot of garbage that gets sorted. And all these vehicles here are directly dropping in as fast as they can into this heat plant. So this will not be 0% heat. This was full of mixed waste at the start of winter, so this valve was pinned at the top, and maybe I was burning a little too fast. Oopsies, right? So we're not in like as dire a situation as I was initially explaining. But yeah, they're delivering mixed waste very rapidly here. In fact, all of the 50 workers that can go here are only supplying this one, because this one has a lot of stockpiles. Uh-oh. Hold on a second here. Oh, no, they got some here. And also we got our high-speed garbage line, which is bringing in mixed waste at a reasonable speed. I don't know where it is. Let's see if I can find our rail train here. The rail train, not the other kind of train. What was that? Did I see something? Yeah, there it is. So yeah, it's going to get some more garbage. So it'll bring in garbage. We've got a ton of trucks also delivering garbage. In the past, that has always been our bottleneck, is the fact that we would run out of garbage in the middle of winter because we just didn't have the infrastructure to move it in fast enough, to burn it fast enough. And as far as I can tell, garbage is basically free. I think they might even pay you to take it, which is, that's a bit of a numbers hack. Otherwise, it's just generally free. So let's just keep an eye on things in real time here. Maybe I'll pause on December 31st, 1984 and do a couple more speeches, because we want this to be 1984. But we're not going to do a 1985 episode. George Orwell's sequel, 1985, never got released. It was just too crummy. People were asking about, what if we had a third layer of meat on the Big Mac and World War III started? Got to pause on 1984 as much as possible. So this is below 50% capacity of coal. Coal Express, it's supposed to be delivering coal. So I expect at least one truck here bringing coal there. Is that it? Yeah, okay. 17 tons is on the way. All right. There's major problems if that's not happening. It's a little bit more challenging in the winter. I do have to hit pause a little bit more often. Look at this. Just an FYI, we have 12 million rubles. Remember when we weren't borrowing any rubles early in the series? We actually have way more rubles borrowed than US dollars. We've been just wasting money in rubles. Everything we buy is in rubles. All our vehicles are in rubles. This year, I'd like this to get finished ASAP. And I want to change the route on that. So I'm keeping on that. Oh, we're building some track here too. Which I don't watch extensively any game series. I watch bits of it, of course. I like highlights and stuff that's interesting to me. But I'm not like a loyal follower like the viewers of this show, right? You're a loyal follower. You watch every episode. We do have our metro line under construction here. So we do have enough of this built in that we could start building tunnels here. So will the tunnel bore come alive? It doesn't seem to have any worker slots, so I don't really know how that works specifically. I don't know if I need a track builder and a borer to work, but I've never seen this thing come out of here. And this thing's super expensive. I bought it at like 70% off though and repaired it. So we'll see if it's worth it. Let's see if we can build our metro line super fast. Oh, it's January 1st. I screwed up already. Okay, well, there you go. I want to talk about a topic here. It's called the secret police. It's part of the game too. We'll talk about the secret police in this game first. Since it's 1985, let's just go. Who cares, right? Let's get some action in the background. We did enough in 1984. It's over. This is all we're going to see of 1985. I didn't build the secret police in the game for a while. So if you're wondering, what do the secret police do in your game? Well, if you've played the game and you've gone through the campaign, they quickly explain that. They kind of show you the loyalty as they visit buildings. And you'll notice a lot of these buildings, though, see it said this disclaimer, if workers' loyalty is unknown, is allowed to work. Meaning that I don't know why. I imagine that if I have this at 100% right now, I don't know why this is even working. I think I'm going to take it down a bit. But now it just must be unknown loyalties, in which case I think that passes on. So let's go with 60%, right? And hopefully it's not too many unknowns. So the secret police will ultimately discover the status of your people, whether they're loyal or not, and allow certain people to work or not. I noticed though, so this is a city of there's probably about 14,000 in the city itself. Most of the other cities in this map are empty. So they are going nonstop. I've not seen a parked car here yet. They're constantly checking for loyalty. I am a little surprised at that. I didn't realize that they check that often. In fact, there's probably more of these needed. Is this going to help? Will filtering the actual 60% loyals inside the university ensure that the loyalty of that professor gets passed on to the student better? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it's worth it. But I had it at 100 and it still seemed to be employing people despite the secret police being right beside it. But maybe the loyalty really does go up thanks to the secret police. And there's a lot of buildings like that. Like your schools, I think, are also a big deal too, where your children, I'm trying to get them all at 40% to start off with. Those are the big ones because education affects the loyalty. Again, that's part of the newspeak we talk about, the words that you're allowed in education. And they check that you don't think of a vocabulary beyond what the government wants you to think. So, yeah, that's how the secret police work in the game. Now, have you ever wondered in real life, are there secret police? Like, do you live in the United States, maybe Canada, maybe England? Do you think these secret police, maybe you live in Australia, do you think the secret police don't exist in your nation? Well, I think they do. I think they're a real thing. If you ever notice people challenging you for political correctness and doing what is the government expects you to do, getting a job, and obviously, obeying the law is one of the first things you should do. Like, I think all nations agree that obeying the law is a good idea, but many nations also have other agendas that their secret police kind of are enforcing. One of the examples of a secret police is, imagine there's a group of oligarchs managing your nation, hypothetically, and they create jobs, and they create low-paying jobs, middle jobs, and high-end jobs. They obviously give the high-end jobs to friends and family and pretend that if you work hard that you'll get one of those high-end jobs. But if you're not a friend or a member of their family, there's no chance you'll get one of those jobs. But they pretend you can get it. So another thing the secret police will do in a Western nation, they'll ensure that the jobs go to the right people. And if you don't have pure loyalty to these rich families and powerful individuals, perhaps you won't have a job at all. That's one of the ways you can secretly police a society without actually having to go through the legal process of doing it. You can just say, we choose not to hire this person. So you're enforcing your brand of loyalty upon other people by doing this. And unfortunately, in Western societies, this is legal. This is a form of secret police. It exists in America, it exists in Canada, it exists in the United Kingdom, it exists everywhere. And it's not just socialist nations. People are critical of the powers that be, and the powers that be, no matter what the social structure is, do not like to be criticized, and they always do something about it. So this is the secret police. There could be a real secret police that really do evil things out there, and they probably informally hire hitmen and stuff like that. The type of people that would do that are rich and powerful people, right? They can cover it up better too. It's just the way it is. But you'll never know about it because the secret police hide everything that's bad, and they enforce loyalty to the powers that be. And yeah, I think it's a real thing. At least informally it is. And in some cases, maybe some countries, it is a formal thing where there are organizations that are basically loyalists, and they take the money from the money printers, and they just don't ask questions, and they enforce whatever law that they're told to enforce for a lot of money. Wouldn't surprise me. Let's check out with our tunnel here. Is it getting built? Is it getting built? Yeah, let's make this a high priority. I want to get this built by the end of the episode. We need lots of gravel, lots of asphalt, bit of steel. Open storage facility. We got lots of bricks, lots of wood, lots of boards. That's looking good. We have heating problems. Where's the heating problem? Oh, that's not a good place. Okay, we'll do a quick pause here. Let's see. How is our heat supply? Yeah, so we appear to be burning as fast as we can make it. Every bit they make gets burnt as fast as possible. How are we doing in this heat plant here? This one is running without issues. It still has plenty of heat. This is getting no new mixed waste delivered to it. So the only thing that controls the... Oof, we're not getting enough workers here. Okay, so let's quickly figure that out. Do we have any... Okay, we get some vehicles repaired here. Maybe one of these could be a bus that could... Oh, we don't have any vehicles. I think we're going to have to get some more workers. Okay, if I see a single bus stop here with 50 workers doing nothing and a short of workers there, we're going to fix our transit real quick. Oh, 49, of course. Oh, 61. That is not good. Why is there 61 there? I think the other ones are okay. We're going to do a little bit of surgery in this episode. I have to show some game skill here. Me just ranting and complaining about things? No, no, no. You came here to see elite game skills. You know, once when I had my Warlock in World of Warcraft, in vanilla, I had some of the highest, like my Shadow Bolt was probably the highest damage Shadow Bolt you could do. And I was able to get a 1337 crit or hit. It was 1337 and I hit print screen real quick just to show everyone my elite skills. I'm good at this game too now. Well, okay-ish. I'm not the best at this game, but I'm probably better than 9 out of 10 people that play this game. And I make a show, so whatever. But we're going to solve this problem here. So both these stops I don't like. They got too many workers. Now, even if our big Mars bus came in and picked up 50 there, then 61 there, it won't have space. So let's create a new route even. Let's actually make an express route. And I did buy a bus here. I was hoping it would be repaired. It should be, oh my God. Okay, I'll allow for repair, but it's not ready yet. We got to get a new one here. We got $1 million in borrowing power here, so we're going to grab one here real quick. I don't even look at the stats at that one. That's the only bus you should buy. And let's find it. Oops. And we'll set up a route with it right away. In the last episode, I actually went over the various categories of routes that you make with these buses. And this is asking to be an express route. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to go in the reverse order of another express route that I know starts at that bus and goes to this stop, then goes to the actual radio station. Okay, let's do that here. So this will go to the mall stop. It will pick up everyone at the mall because we could grab passengers there too. Then it will go to the university bus stop. We got plenty of people working on this district here, okay? There's no issues with the workers in this zone here. They're processing garbage. They're producing heat. We don't want any students and we don't want any tourists to where we're going. The next stop is going to be over here in the area where we don't have enough workers. The area where the jobs aren't so great, but just as essential. There's 52 people. Of those 52 people that don't have a workspace right now, I'm going to say quite a few are at that bus stop right now. Because that's too high of a number for me to be happy with. Okay, so this is the route, and then what you do is, you see the naming convention here. This is what we just made. We create a line out of this. We call this LA Transit Express 6. Okay, this is a linear route, And again, the convention is 4 or less stops as an express, 5 or more just regular transit. And now this guy will do this. Now, actually, truthfully, this isn't quite done yet. Let's make this a little bit better. So that if we're going to go all the way out here to the gravel bus stop, let's just add one more stop here at our end station, because we got to refuel anyways, and the best time to refuel when there's no one on the bus. I know when you ride transit, I've ridden transit when I was a kid. I would take the transit to school for many years, and I hate when the bus goes to the gas station during the route, don't you? So use an end station like the buses eventually did in my community, and not go and get gas in the middle of the route. We're going to solve a lot of problems right there. By the end of the episode, that will benefit. That will have a butterfly effect in terms of things that get fixed, because there's way too many people waiting for work. And we get to skip a bunch of zones with that bus too. And eventually, once our metro is done, we're going to have to rethink all this. Keep an eye on the heat here. You always got to check your heat valves as well. Lots of coal, max workers. Okay, so I don't see enough people going there, and I see too many people that could go here. So we're going to ease our worker count. I know we have a bus that could be picking up a lot of people, 100 people in. That's 90 there. That's about all we should need right now. We're going to be displacing some radio jobs, unfortunately, because of the new route we just created. I said I was going to talk about Ronald Reagan. Okay, so Ronald Reagan was elected in the 1980s, and he is an example of an actor. He's the first actor that convinced you to vote for him. We now know he offered no solutions. Why didn't we learn after Reagan not to hire actors as presidents? He made up the lie, him and some of his associates, super wealthy associates, look this up. They made up this fictitious lie that trickle-down economics and tax breaks for the rich are good for the economy. And ever since then, the U.S. economy has gone, the purchasing power of the average citizen has gone down, okay, in the name of giving that money to the super rich. And that's been a big lie. Again, it all comes down to purchasing power. And the moment you start believing actors have the solution to your society, in truth, you should never vote for an actor unless they got social policies. Now, it's not to say all actors are pro-industry and pro-capitalist, because, again, you got to realize most actors are directly paid by super rich organizations that have an agenda. Like, think of movies that promote war themes, right? That's how they recruit. They get you excited about driving a tank or flying a plane or something, and they recruit you this way. And these are big organizations. They pay actors, and actors are obviously going to be pro these institutes because that's how they get paid millions of dollars. But you shouldn't hire an actor as your president. Ronald Reagan, he had one of the most wide-sweeping successes in election promises, only to completely fail at delivering everything in the long run. He made a bunch of long-term plans that he significantly cut taxes on the rich. And since then, they never went up to the levels they were before him. And ever since then, society has been worse off than it used to be. So, America and any other nation, please never ever elect an actor again. They're just actors. They know how to convince you. They know how to say the things you want to hear. Unlike me, I'm the opposite of it. I'm like the guy who actually knows what makes economic sense, but I'm so unappealing to listen to. So this is what you get when you vote for an actor. You get the poverty you have today. America could be so much wealthier if it didn't waste so much through its elites. That it's technology that's made any kind of improvements, not the tax cuts for the rich. That had nothing to do with the actual innovation in America. So please, America, never vote for an actor again. Okay, we got a problem here. We have a shortage of clothing. So my quick fix is, instead of giving it all away to the capitalists, Again, this is why we're doing financially good, is because I'm selling our necessities to the Canadians right now. And what I'm going to do is not do clothing for a bit. So we're going to stockpile our clothing. Ooh, yeah, this could be where we're having our heating problems. They are not happy here. They are not happy. These were in the 70s, and I think the fact that like you're watching me torture the people, but I don't have a choice. I have maximum jobs in this, and this is as fast as we can get our heat source developed, right? Let's check our tunnel here. Is this going any faster? This would be so cool when this tunnel's done. It's a very expensive tunnel. I probably could have done this a little cheaper. Like, this area is getting very, very developed, right? So it's not like I'm building this tunnel just for like an expensive little project here that's not worth it. The city needs to expand. It's starting to burst at the seams, so to speak. And this is the next way it has to go. It's the cleanest area. I know I said in the last episode I wasn't going to do a winter episode for a while, and then I, go do a dead of winter episode, the very next one. Again, it's just my scheduling for when I can record the next show in 1986. Again, we're watching the sequel. Maybe I should call this episode 1985. Yeah, you know what? I think I might. I just think that's funny. The sequel to 1984. This is 1985. As you know, 1984 was written in, obviously, 1984. Okay, look at this. See where heat's up here? And I'm just going to leave it that way. It might be a little bit high. Let's maybe add a little bit more work variety here, though. That bus must have picked up a bunch of people. This bus that we bought might be bringing work. Look at that, 9 out of 10. And let's see, down to only 20 people without jobs. So look at that. I created 30 jobs in this episode. I'm so efficient with my time. Think about that. Think of all the communities in the world today where there's like someone who administers policy. All they had to do is buy a bus or just assign a bus a different route, and this community would go to an underserved area, express route, and get jobs. It's all they had to do. If one person did that as a full-time job, they'd create millions of dollars in wealth. And here I am sharing this idea, and I get like nothing for it. Well, maybe some views, maybe a bit of fame. We'll see. Well, let's check out our little experiment out here with our oil patch. I don't know if this will get done in this episode. We have a very, very skeleton crew here of machinery doing the minimal work here. And we're still waiting on our pipeline technology. I think, oh, we just discovered it. Hold on. You know what? I don't think we're going to do any kind of new research right now, because I don't think there's anything worth researching just yet. Maybe later some of the stuff. Let's not research anything at all, because this is nicely balanced. There's only one person waiting for an education, and that's not a big deal. Okay, so we could expedite this, but I think this will be for next episode in 1986. 1986 is the sequel to 1985, right? I like that idea of 1985, even though it kind of ruins the first part of this show. Okay, I want to tell you an idea for an invention. I advertised an invention at the start of the show. Is this an invention idea? Do you think this is a good idea? So China has, and many places in the world has, solar thermal heating, right? From what I understand, it's basically, it heats a central point, and then it boils, and then it moves a turbine super rapidly through gear mechanisms and produces electricity just like anything else with concentrated heat. They use mirrors to do this in desert areas where there's lots of sun. It's solar thermal heat power. So this idea is a combination of mixing the technologies of the steam pipes in this game. You pump the steam underground here, where you build your pipelines. Oops, I better not build anything there. Underground, you build the heat pipelines. You move them into heat exchangers, right? And they produce heat for the population. And this heats the buildings, right? Like, we have numerous heat exchangers in our city. Now, what if we piped heated sand instead? Right? Because I understand that heating sand is a process, but they try to convert it to electricity. But for heating your community, couldn't you a plum heated sand. Maybe there's a percentage of water. Like if we have, you'd use similar pipes to steam pipes. You'd have to make sure there's not, I don't know how salt would react with this. Maybe they'd have to be made out of some sort of ABS kind of, maybe there's some metal. The materials would have to be designed so that it lasts long. But there's an idea for invention where instead of having solar thermal collectors, the aluminum arrays that focus the light on a concentrated source to generate heat, like a heat exchanger that's mixed with sand, and then the sand pumps through underground pipes and it goes to heat exchangers. It never is used as electricity, right? It's intended to be used for heating purposes. So maybe in like the American plains, this would be an idea for winter because you would have the need for heat and you got quite a bit of sun and it just, all the situations there. The desert itself, maybe not so much, but a little bit because you still need a bit of heating at times a year in the desert as well. So what do you think of that? My idea for an invention, solar thermal heating, not solar thermal electricity. It's a hybrid of the heating in this game and, solar thermal electricity. So tell me what you think of that idea. Again, steal it if you want. I'll just throw out ideas every episode like this. And if some of this is patentable, again, just send me a few $1,000,000 and we're good. Oh yeah, another thing I want to do here, something done between episodes. It's a little hard to see in winter. So I said I spent a lot of time playing between episodes. And I spent 6 hours making this interchange here. See this interchange? I planned this out for 6 hours. It's kind of cool. Check it out. Maybe I'll talk about another topic. I'll put this in the background. Maybe even, because there's nothing happening here. I'll just pause. You can look at that while I talk another topic here. Oh yeah, here's a random topic. Something rich people bluff about. Okay? You've heard of Millionaire Flight, when, the concern is if we raise taxes, the millionaires will leave. Statistically speaking, they don't leave. When you raise taxes, they just stay. They don't care. You can tax them quite a bit before they'll leave because they're so privileged that the inconvenience of it, they'd rather lose millions of dollars to taxation than go through the effort of having to relocate everything. Now and then some of them do it, but I'll say that's also a bluff. I think John Deere in the US moved to Mexico or something like that. But my reasoning is they were going to move there anyways because they do a lot of business with Mexicans. So for them to claim it was because of taxes, that's probably a bit of a lie, is my guess. But in general, the big bluff is from the rich people is you tax us, we'll leave. Okay. So statistically speaking, they don't. They almost always stay. It's like 90% chance. You could raise taxes on the super rich by 20% or more in the top brackets, and they won't go anywhere because if they don't have access to your market, they have no way of making any money at all. So and we got all these dummy politicians that are like, oh, we can't tax the rich because that's bad for business. If you're a politician that subscribes to taxing the rich is going to damage your economy, you're just dumb. You're not looking at the numbers. It will improve your economy. It will give you more funds to operate with. And then there's some people out there, there's actual voters and regular citizens who subscribe to this, that they believe the bluff, that the rich will leave if you tax them. No, they generally won't. And if anything else, from the taxation you gain, set up a competition bureau and spawn new businesses for the ones that do leave. You might have a hint as to the ones that really might leave. Set up their competitors overnight and say, bye-bye, right? That's how you deal with the rich people in your community. Did a bit of a speech. I'll show another interchange here. Look at this one here. This one kind of sucks, so I don't know if I'm going to do this one. I haven't done this. I said I'd do a movie review, so let's do the movie review since this one is close to Las Vegas. We can see Las Vegas in the background here. And this interchange here kind of stinks. You can barely even see it too in winter. But I had to plan this all out. I literally spent probably 12 hours developing 3 highway interchanges here. I want to talk about a movie review here. It's a story of Las Vegas. Bugsy. I'll just say I give it a 3.5 star out of 5. It was a pretty good movie. But if you get a chance, you ever want to know the history of Las Vegas and who essentially made Las Vegas, watch the movie Bugsy. It explains it. And it's about a guy named Bugsy Siegel and I think another character, Lucky Luciano or something like that. He funds some things. And it's basically the original mob creation of Vegas. As you can see in the virtual world in the background where we got our Soviet Las Vegas being, well, it's about to become communist and we're about to expand into Vegas. So it had Annette Bening. She was very pretty in that movie. It was a good movie overall. I can't remember much of the details, but probably shouldn't give you a spoiler of what happens to Bugsy in the movie. He's the guy who had the vision that made Las Vegas. And today, like I think there's millions of people that live in that city. Everyone in Las Vegas should be obligated to watch the movie Bugsy. Just because if it wasn't for that man going against the current for that long, the city would not exist. The thing about it that made it unusual, prostitution and gambling were legal in Nevada at the time, but there was no vegetation, there was no anything there, frankly. And Bugsy was the guy who had the vision to realize, let's take advantage of the culture of this place. He understood too, some people like warm places, that not everything's, you're not coming from the inland empire and always going to have, beautiful climates all the time. He understood that warm places become tourist destinations for people that live in cold cities. And he had the vision for that. I think it was made in the 80s or 90s. But anyone who lives in that area, or if you've been to Vegas, you should check it out. That's the movie review. It's a crappy review. Whatever. This isn't a movie review show. I only did that because Las Vegas was on topic. And we're doing a similar thing in the game that happened in the movie where we're going to ambush the actual city and take it over. But yeah, this is one of the interchange. I don't like the way this road works here, but the tracks make things complicated here. Okay, and here's another interchange. Again, so I spent 6 hours on this one, probably about 2 hours on this thing. And this one I probably spent about 4 hours on. This was kind of a neat one. It's hard to see with the lighting here how this interchange works. But this is a neat interchange. It gets all the directions. No one has to stop. This will look better in summer when it's built. The snow really does ruin things, but I'll just do it a backdrop. This was one of the topics of the show, was these interchanges. And I got to just keep going through the topics here. I want to do the alt history topic. So have you heard of these alt history YouTube videos? Well, they say, what if these countries, what if the Soviet Union reformed today, right? So what if, here's another what if, okay? What if Canada joined the Soviet Union? How would that shape things? A lot of people don't realize that Russia and Canada have influence on each other through the North Pole, right? Maybe not too much pedestrian traffic, but technically Canada is adjacent to Russia. Alaska was once part of Russia, very close to Canada, obviously. So what if the Soviet Union were to reform? Maybe they grab China, maybe they grab Canada, Ukraine, Russia. They you know what, they go, enough is enough. Enough of this capitalist interference. These few businessmen that are behind the war. It's the oligarchs on both sides responsible. It is. It really is. It's the rich Russians and it's the rich Ukrainians behind it. It's just the truth, okay? They both control their medias and they both go to war. And we thought this couldn't happen again. We thought the 1984 Orwellian propaganda stories would teach you never to go to war by propaganda. But, the Z thing they did in Russia, and then Putin's a monster they do in Ukraine. These are the two narratives that they each listen to, and it motivates some people to do it. And if you watch this series, you're not going to be that foolish. You would not be tricked into going to war. If you're going to war and watching this and you're like, oh, damn, yeah, I was tricked by the rich and powerful. Well, I'd just say get your tour of duty done fast and get out of that fast and try not to hurt many people, because basically it's tricked people against tricked people here. And just don't get yourself killed is the number one thing. Again, there are some people who are just pure warmongers. They want to go to war anyways. Like, can't stop that. Join a criminal enterprise or something if you want to do that. You don't have to go to war. Okay? But wouldn't it be neat if we did a what if alt list where, let's say in the 2020s, Canada merges with the Soviet Union. Soviet Union picks up China, obviously. Maybe a few other nations join in. Maybe there's a couple that don't join. Maybe they stick with NATO. Okay, I don't know. I'll let the people who make these lists figure it out. What happens? What's the future of the world? Does it spread? I know some of these simulations just say that's like the something like that's the critical point for socialism. So could someone make a what if alt list like that in terms of a new socialist bloc? That'd be cool to see. I want to make an addendum to my invention here. I'm just looking at my notes. The idea of the heated sand, I thought, what if also it went through prefabricated asphalt roads so that when you laid down asphalt panels, there'd be conduits for the heated sand to go through. So it could also multi-purpose roads. The roads would move the heated sand with the built-in plumbing, but also it melts the roads so you don't need snow plows anymore either. So I think this would be a great Midwest industry because then you just have always melted roads. You deliver heat to the houses and it's completely clean. It's clean energy and it's probably ultra economical, ultra efficient. Like the cost of having to buy for all those services through, traditional Western capitalist notions would be billions of dollars, and you could probably do it for a fraction of that cost. Check out the things here. Yeah, we're just burning it as it comes in. It's amazing how this facility has had no garbage to burn most of the winter here, yet the needle still stays pretty high. That's not bad. How are we doing here? This has gone up. Okay, so we are getting some workers. Oh, and we are running out of garbage, though. I imagine that transit bus... Oh, okay, we got a train issue. What's going on here? Oh, this one's stuck. That's not good. That one being stuck. Uh-oh. Okay, we got to move this to workplace. That's what you do, okay? When you try to get fancy and do a show with a bunch of trains with the signals not set up and build tracks. Ooh, got a little bit built. That's kind of nice. This is what you get. Now, I don't know if people are going to die because of that. Okay, we still got crops. Thank God for that warning. We got one too many trains there. And for what? Just to get some gravel in here? Yeah, well, we kind of need the gravel, so not a big deal. But yeah, we fixed that just there. Had one of the trains kind of stuck. We got to get this aggregate train out of the way so that this train can get in the right lane. Let's keep an eye. Let's see if we can get that. Is this thing ever going to work? Is it ever going to start? No. One of the things I wanted to talk about too was this idea of clean coal. The clean coal setup I'm going to do here. I'll save that for a future episode. But when we make our coal plant in Vegas here, it's going to be the cleanest coal. We don't want dirty coal. We want good American clean coal. And this coal will heat the plants up and heat all these cities. And having to worry about all this garbage, I thought that it's good for supplemental heat, I guess. And we do have to get rid of the waste at some point. But I'm going to be honest here. The pollution and the proximity is fun to simulate this, but it's causing too many problems. Like the happiness in these buildings, this isn't even 70%, is partly because at times it's too cold, and also because at times the pollution is bad. Like it's affecting them. How is this tunnel doing? This was a big tunnel. Thousands of work days. It's high priority. Oof, I don't know if we're going to finish this one. Well, we might. We might. As long as I don't start any other new projects here. As long as that's where all the workers go primarily. Oh, you know what? We could send some of these. Look at this guy. Doing nothing. Let's get these guys working for Coal Express. This guy could work for Coal Express. Let's put a bus in there. I think, we need workers, really. Lots of workers. This one just got repaired. This one's waiting for repairs. Actually, if this just got repaired, Money Truck is good at making money. That's Money Truck's specialty. It don't work for no construction office. It make money. Okay, that's what Money Truck does. Ooh, look at that. One of our pump jacks is built. Oh, I said I was going to adjust this route here. Let's quickly do that. Because I got to do other things in the game, not just frantically comb over the same buildings over and over. Okay, let's hit pause. We got a fire. And here we'll add, instead of going to Maglev, we're going to go to the bus stop and then the walk. I think that's a little quicker. I think they can get from this building to this building by foot faster than driving all around. People can walk at like 80 kilometers an hour in this game, so let's take advantage of that. And this will give us one, actually let's just make one firefighter because I don't want to be putting too many. We only have one track builder here and it's the only thing building this parallel track, and we need to get that done in the next, hopefully by next episode. Let's check out this fire. Actually, let's just not worry about the fire. Let's see if this guy turns around. Okay, turned around first. That's the main thing. Oh, we're still missing clothes. That's not good. Why are they missing clothes? Okay, let's check the fire. Where is this fire? Is it in a bad spot? Ooh. Oh, I thought it was the church for a second. Where is it? Here? Oh. I'm not even, that's so easy to put out, I'm not even going to watch it. But why do we have a shortage of clothing? We're not picking up the clothing anymore. And we got enough crops. We got enough chemicals. Lots of chemicals. Lots of workers. Maybe there's a lot of people moving in still. We have any... Ooh, we got too much alcohol. Okay, we got to start getting rid of that alcohol. Oh my god, we're... Okay, the train's about to arrive. But yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I had that... Don't mess. This is so highly tuned. And if you're playing the game alongside here, be very careful when you do stuff like that. But we won't pick up crops yet, or we won't pick up clothing yet. Also, another thing I have in my game here is I have just a little bit of a tip, is this top-notch distribution office. I have as a final stage this option to sell surplus. So every time something like that happens, it'll just automatically give a job like this. See this truck here? Just to get rid of a bit of our alcohol manually. We'll drive it in case the train doesn't pick it all up. This is the future. This is Newspeak. I'm giving you new words to understand the dystopian 1985 nightmare you live in. This is an Orwellian nightmare, 1985. Okay, I'm going to do another topic here. This was unannounced as a topic. If you've been playing along with your bingo card, you'll notice I've gone over all the topics that I said I would, but I always have other topics I don't, because some of them I don't think promote well. This is an example of free speech, what I'm about to say here. Okay, so have you ever wondered if the theory of political correctness, are you a person who concerns themselves with always being politically correct? Me, myself, I'm actually trying to become less politically correct. Like, let's say I'm getting famous enough and some people are starting to say, oh, you should take that down. I'm going to analyze whether it's honest or not, right? Because there are politically correct things that are not good to be politically correct about. Like, I'm of the belief that political correctness itself is a distraction from the reality that the rich basically plunder the world while you're too busy being distracted with nonsense regarding political correctness. You're trying to make everyone happy while they steal from everyone and make everyone unhappy. They encourage political correctness because it's mainly a distraction, and sometimes it gets people thinking things that are not true. That it's a form of newspeak, right? This a form of word control. What are you allowed to say? What are you not allowed to say? And I, for one, I get political correctness in terms of not hurting people's feelings. Like, I'll just say, for example, one of the big ones is like the topic of trans people. Okay. Now, if you're a trans person watching this right now, you're just a person. You're a non-binary gender. Okay, that's it. But why does the topic go on forever? Like, you have your own battles to deal with. I have my own battles to deal with, right? I got to quit smoking. I got other health issues that are I don't bring them up. I don't put it in your face all the time, right? And I understand it. It's not you if you're a trans person listening in on the trans topics. It's not you putting these topics in the forefront. It's other people bringing it up. And the question is why. Now, it's here's what's really going on. It's the super rich just want to give you news topics. They want to give you bread and circus, and it's quite frankly because it's so unusual a non-binary gender. That's why other people talk about it, and then it feeds back into itself. The political correctness gets promoted from the top, then the society works with it, and if it sticks, the top reacts to it, and they add more rules to the political correctness of the statements. Eventually, you're just so bound by rules, you can't actually think for yourself. It just becomes a question of, okay, what do the rich people want me to think now? How do I maintain my employment, right? And that's the ugly truth of it all, is that the rich people essentially decide who starves and who doesn't. And if you don't obey the rules of the political correct game, you'll be unemployed. You say the wrong thing on social media, your business gets denied business with other people. Like, you could go on to racism, you could go on to sexism. There's various other angles of political correctness to talk about. But let's just talk about the non-binary gender topic as an example. Okay. The odds are the company that would veto your company for not being respectful towards transgendered people, they might have no one in their organization that's transgendered. They're just doing that to maintain an impression of political correctness before all. What can you do? Someone's born non-binary. What can you do about it? Someone could have, 3 arms. It's interesting. You might discuss it, but if you don't adhere to the political correctness of it, you could be unemployed, right? My theory is political correctness is a tool of the wealthy to maintain control, and it's primarily just a distraction. It's just a set of unneeded rules. Society, it's not good for society. It's gotten a little out of hand. Like, I get the not hurting people's feelings. So I'm just going to end this discussion right now, okay? End this topic right now. Political correctness needs to be limited to the dominant demographics. There needs to be a minimum percentage of people, say 10%, okay? You could talk about gay rights and whatnot. That's it. But let's not subdivide further, okay? There has to be, after that, it's your own personal battle, okay? We don't need to be, there's too much cost to the institutions to deal with everyone's micro problem. Like, it would be like if I was to say, everyone should watch my show because if you don't do that, you're hurting my feelings, right? And that's ridiculous. That's completely ridiculous. We have a big problem here. This is a bad place for a fire. And hopefully they get this out real quick. Oh my God. Okay. Maybe there should be a bit of gravel for this one. I'm thinking maybe I'll add some gravel to this road after the fact. Thank God we have this tunnel. This tunnel just saved electricity in this whole quadrant of the city just now. Thank God. Okay. Are we going to build our tunnel? Well, we're not going to get that bus station built, that's for sure. That is for sure. Are we going to get this tunnel built? Maybe. We'll see. Are people going to die? Let's just immerse ourselves in the game for the last bit. It'll be 1986. It'll be a brave new world in the next episode. This is 1985, right? The Orwellian dystopian nightmare of no resources to generate heat and the middle of winter because the planner screwed up. He burnt too much of the waste right off the bat. Okay, so we're getting into February here. The temperatures are going to warm up a bit. This might even be wasteful here. We're going to cut some jobs here. I do this every year. You don't see this in the show because I usually start an episode after this stage, but this is what I do every year. I start cutting the jobs. Okay, this doesn't even have anything to burn anymore. Uh-oh. So let's reduce this down to 3 workers. And what's this one here? This is medium garbage 4. We'll put medium garbage 4 back in the unload category. So now these two facilities will be able to generate heat. Let's lower the workers here. This might actually work out nice here. Because you look at that, you know what, despite having no heat source most of the winter, there could have been 1,000 people die this month in the game. I don't know what happens. Sometimes it happens in the game. Oh my god, what's with these fires? Thank god it's plowed out. That would have been a challenging fire to put out. Like, sometimes the fire starts right after the snow falls, and there's a few minutes before the snowplows are done all their work. We're not getting this bust. Like, who cares if we got that done? I don't know if we're going to get this tunnel done either. I think we're going to have to call this an episode very shortly. You get the gist of it, though. We survived the winter, though. This was actually the objective of the show. Every show has a written objective, and this was it. Let's just check how our clothing is. Yeah, we're stockpiling a bit of clothes. I think our alcohol stores are correct here. I think we're going to have to call this an episode. I failed at it. Didn't build a tunnel. This was really challenging. This was a winter episode. This is why, you know what, I guess the lesson learned here is that you can't expect to build a lot of stuff in winter. It's just too hard. Everything is slow. This construction equipment is not active. The only thing we need is workers, and nothing involved in that has spare workers. They're too busy operating the heat plants. We got another train issue. We got this stupid set of trains all just sort of in each other's way. I am building this bridge, though. Once this gets extended further out, this will definitely... See, one of the things I want to do with Vegas is... See, you can build your rail lines, but you need trucks to build the other side of the rail line anyways. Because you can't build an unload station. Trucks are actually higher priority than rails in that sense, in that they are required to get the groundwork done in order to build this rail line. Yeah, I think that's the lesson learned. Don't try to build something in a dystopian nightmare, right? So anyways, I guess we'll get ready to sign out here. We failed at constructing things. Let's maybe have just a quick peek here, how this went here. Yeah, we might have our pipeline built here. We should be doing really good for money. I think our financial woes are coming to an end. It's really just about getting the city cleaner. To clean the city is the big deal. To get the sources of this pollution out as far as possible, way out of the city. This garbage heat plant will probably survive longer than this one. I've already removed one pipe, but this one's way too close. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and may the dystopian nightmare you live in come to an end. Maybe you learn some newspeak. Maybe you can understand the oppression you live under a little bit better. Understand the little shenanigans, the rich and powerful. And sometimes it's not even rich people. Sometimes it's just powerful people that take advantage of you. So just don't let them do it. Just be aware of it. So I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will see you next week.